Hare Krishna. Summary of Canto 4, Chapter 6. Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. After the sacrifice was destroyed by Virabhadra, all those who had been injured fled and they approached Brahma for help. All the devatas, the priests and guests were wounded and defeated by Lord Shiva's followers. They went and approached Lord Brahma and informed him of what had happened. Brahma and Vishnu, knowing that this would happen, actually did not go to the sacrifice. Lord Brahma went and spoke to the demigods. He said, "Oh demigods, no happiness is found by offending. You cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you offend a great personality like Lord Shiva. You have to please Lord Shiva. You have excluded Lord Shiva from his share of the sacrifice. Therefore, you all are offenders. And if you really desire to live, you should please Lord Shiva. Go, fall at his lotus feet and beg for forgiveness. And he is indeed Ashutosh. He will be easily pleased." When Lord Shiva is angry, the world and its protectors cannot exist. He was especially sorry because of losing his wife and the harsh words that were spoken by Daksha. Therefore, he should go at once and beg his pardon. So at that time, the demigods indicated to Brahma that they wanted a way out, a solution or a way to do it. So at that time, Brahma said, "Myself, Indra, you, the sages, or any embodied being do not know how powerful Lord Shiva is. He is completely independent. Then who would dare to offend him?" So like this, Brahma, after instructing the devatas and the other demigods, along with all of them, they all went to Kailash, which is the abode of Lord Shiva. Kailash was filled with different kinds of herbs, Vedic hymns, mystic yoga practices, demigods, kinnaras, kinpurushas, gandharvas, apsaras, valuable gems and minerals, varieties of trees, plants, various types of animals, waterfalls, beautiful caves that were inhabited by beautiful wives of the mystics. There were peacocks everywhere, bees were humming, cuckoos were singing. There were tall trees with straight branches. Elephants were passing through very, very powerfully. There were flower-bearing trees like Mandara, Parijata, Sarala, Tamala, Thala, and so on. Fruit-bearing trees were seen everywhere like the jackfruit tree, banyan trees, plakshas, asafoetida, betel nut, mango trees, and so on. Flowers like Kumuda, Utpala, and Shatapatra were seen. The entire lake was filled with various kinds of birds who were whispering very sweetly, and different kinds of animals like deers, monkeys, boars, lions, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deers, buffaloes, and so many other animals were seen. There were varieties of deers like the Karnantra, Ekapada, Ashwasya, Vruka, and Kasturi, and different kinds of banana trees. The Kailash hill was surrounded by the Alakananda Ganga, which is made more auspicious by the bathing of goddess Sati. All the demigods, after seeing the specific beauty of Kailash hill, were struck with wonder, seeing its great opulences. Thus, the demigods saw the most beautiful Alaka region and the Saugandhika forest that was filled with the fragrance of the Saugandhika lotuses. Outside the city were the rivers Nanda and Alakananda, sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Tirthapada. Whenever water or anything that touches the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord or anyone who is devoted to the Lord is immediately purified and spiritualized and free from any sort of material contamination. The wives of the Devatas were fatigued after their enjoyment and they would enter these rivers and enjoy sprinkling water on their husbands. The waters would become yellow and fragrant mixed with the kumkum from these damsels, and the elephants drank this water though they were not thirsty. Alaka was filled with many beautiful airplanes bedecked with pearls, gold, and jewels, and it was occupied by the wives of the Yakshas. The demigods passed through this region of Kuvera, who is the king of the Yakshas, and the Saugandhika forest, filled with flowers, fruits, desire trees, humming bees, cuckoos, and lakes filled with swans and lotuses. There, the fragrance produced by the elephants rubbing against the sandalwood trees would easily agitate the mind of anybody who would pass through that place. They also saw bathing ghats with steps made of Vaidurya and water filled with lotuses, and they saw the great banyan tree of Lord Shiva. The banyan tree was 100 yojanas high, with branches extending for 75 yojanas. Its shade permanently cooled the temperature, yet there was no noise of birds. Lord Shiva was sitting under that banyan tree, which can give perfection to all mystic yogis. As grave as eternal time, Shiva seemed to have given up his anger. Shiva was sitting there surrounded by many saintly people like Kuvera and the four Kumaras, who were also very brave and saintly. Lord Shiva was situated in perfection of Vidya, Tapa and Yoga in devotional service, and he is the master of the senses, the friend of the universe, and he was performing austerities to benefit the entire world out of his affection for the jivas. He was performing austerities with deer skin, matted hair and a staff. His reddish body was smeared with ashes, and on his hair was the symbol of the crescent moon. He was seated on Kusha mat among all the listening sages, and he was speaking to the great sage Narada about the absolute truth in the mood of devotion. He was sitting in Virasana. His left leg was on his right thigh, and his left hand was on his left thigh. His right hand held the Rudraksha beads and showed the Tarka Mudra. Lord Shiva is called as Yogishwara and Lord Krishna is called as Yogeshwara. Yogeshwara indicates that no one can surpass the yoga practice of Lord Shiva, and Yogeshwara indicates that no one can surpass the yogic perfection in Lord Krishna. The demigods and sages offered respects to Lord Shiva, who is the chief of all thinkers and who was absorbed in thoughts of the Lord. In spite of his exalted position, worshipable Shiva stood up immediately, seeing Lord Brahma, who arrived along with the Devatas, and offered him respect by bowing down. Then Brahma spoke. All the sages who were sitting there also offered their obeisances to Brahma. After being worshipped, Brahma smiled and then he began to speak to Lord Shiva. Now Brahma was smiling just to conceal his fear, as he was afraid that Lord Shiva might be in an angry mood still. So although Brahma received respects from Lord Shiva, he knew that Shiva was much more exalted than himself. Now Brahma began to glorify Shiva in the mood of the Shaivites. He said to Lord Shiva, I know that you are the Supreme Lord, the controller of the universe, the form of Sadashiva, the father and mother of this universe, who create, maintain and destroy the universe just as how a spider acts upon its web. You have created the system of sacrifices through the agency of Daksha for deriving the benefits of Dharma and Artha, the system of Varnashrama, which the Brahmanas follow with determination. So sometimes Lord Shiva is praised on the level of Lord Vishnu because he is an incarnation of the Lord. Lord Shiva acts on behalf of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is unattached to material activities and he is untouched by external energy. But when he comes in touch with the external energy, when the material activities have to be performed, he appears in his feature as Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu are not different in the sense that the milk in yogurt and the original milk are non-different. Now Brahma spoke about the Shiva having created the system of sacrifices and the system of Varnashrama. So when he was talking about the system of sacrifices, he said that Lord Shiva had created the system of sacrifices through the agency of Daksha for deriving benefits of Dharma and Artha. So here Brahma was indicating that since Daksha, the person who initiates Dharma, is dead, Dharma will be destroyed, which will cause further misfortune to the entire world. So therefore he wanted Shiva to take some action. So he told Lord Shiva, you ordain the destinations of the Swarga for the pious people and hell for impious people. So but he asked him, but then why do you do the opposite to some people? He meant to indicate that why should Daksha, who's actually pious, die like this in such an impious way? And Brahma actually, in this verse, he seems to be blaming Lord Shiva, but then actually he was not blaming Lord Shiva. He was trying to clarify Shiva's punishing of Daksha. It was not actually due to anger of Lord Shiva, but indirectly it was his mercy. So Brahma told Lord Shiva, surrendered devotees do not become angry with other beings because they observe your presence as Paramatma in everyone, and therefore they do not differentiate among living beings. Only animals become angry. Even the devotees do not become angry. How can you be angry? We know that you were not angry. There's no difference between the Lord's anger on the demons and his blessings on the devotees, because both are blessings on a spiritual level. So he was indicating like this, and at this time Shiva might say, but if I do not become angry and suitably punish them, everyone would become sinful, as they would not get the results of their sins. So that time Brahma said, you are very, very exalted and you need not kill sinful people, as they are already killed by providence because of their differentiated vision, attachment to karma, mean-mindedness, envy at others' prosperity, causing distress to others with their piercing words. However, sadhus are very compassionate to the materialists who are bewildered by Vishnu Maya and sometimes offend devotees. Sadhus do not show their prowess on such offenders because karma will act upon them. You are never bewildered by the Lord's Maya, dear Lord Shiva. Therefore, you should be merciful towards those who are bewildered by that Maya and are attached to karma. Having said this, Brahma tried to appease Lord Shiva and then he put forth his specific requests. He said, Lord Shiva, you have destroyed everything because the priest did not offer you a share in the sacrifice, although actually you hold all the share and in fact you give its result. Please let Daksha get back his life, Bhaga his eyes, Bhrigu his moustache, and Pusha his teeth. Revive the demigods. May the injured demigods recover by your grace. We all take shelter of you. Take your share. You destroyed the sacrifice. Still, take your share of the sacrifice and let the sacrifice now become complete by your grace. So this ends the summary of Canto 4, Chapter 6. Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. Hare Krishna.